I'm Ben Simmons, and I'll be doing my AP presentation on should 16-year-olds be able to emancipate themselves from harmful situations in the U.S. According to Children Advocacy Center, 3.6 million cases of child abuse are reported every year. That's an enormous number. And most of those kids are still in that situation today, or they were in there until they could age out or get out by 18. They could leave by 18. But what if they could leave by 16? And that could be emancipation. Looking through that brought me to my research question. Should 16-year-olds be allowed to request emancipation from their parents in the U.S.? And when looking at that research question, it brought me to these two sources. Through the Tunnel by Laura Cecil, who looks at the Jerry and how he does a big thing by himself and independent. And Zedada and others, bird PTSD study, where it looks at birds and how they are affected by PTSD from predators and how they pass it on to their offspring. Looking through that got me to my thesis statement of helping 16-year-olds facing abuse or neglect at home to become independent is important because it gives them a chance to escape home and be better humans. While there are other ways to address this problem, prioritizing the safety of these kids comes first. But before we really get into this, we have to define what really is emancipation. Emancipation, the fact or process of being set free from legal, social, or political restriction. Essentially, it's liberation. These kids are essentially trapped in their homes, unable to branch out and be in a better system of life. They're abused or neglected, which helps them not at all. Granting them emancipation would give them this freedom. What are they granting freedom from? Zen and others show that when birds are influenced by predators, while being in the wild or in captivity, they contract PTSD. And when they have offspring, they pass them on to that PTSD. They concluded that birds with PTSD are horrible parents. They will neglect their offspring by not going out because they're too paranoid that they will be eaten by predators, and they'll just neglect their offspring at all, leading to the offspring to usually die or have horrible life skills going on. What if the birds could spread their wings and get out of that situation? Could learn to fly, learn to feed for themselves, learn to get out of that situation. Humans can do this. Carol and singer Eleanor Williams, award-winning teachers at Santa Clara University, agreed with this, stating that emancipation of 16-year-olds would grant them authority to do this thing, essentially, branching their wings out and being able to care for themselves. This leads me to that with life at home. Kids are fragile and impressionable. Kids with parents that you have substance abuse or have bad mental health do not help them in the long run at all. They are unstable and volatile, and when in neglect, it doesn't help them at all. Unstable parents neglecting them because they have other things to worry about. They're thinking about their mental health, they're thinking about just other stuff. They have a different altered state of mind because of the substance they're using. Just all of it is bad. Some of the actual stats from California, president of Substance Abuse and Mental Health organization in California, state that kids with parents that have mental health issues are 3 times more likely to be neglected. That's huge. And substance abuse is 4 times more likely to be physically and sexually assaulted, which is, again, enormous. Basing off of our neglection, we're going to neglect the silent killer, which neglect is maybe and sometimes worse than abuse in and of itself. Because neglect squashes your future outlook 100%. You have no support systems, no anything. While if you're abused, you can still sometimes branch out and be better. Like Michael Jackson was abused by his father, was still an amazing singer, performance, whatever. But if you have no support systems, nothing to help you, you're totally lost. What's the main reason for this? Besides no support systems, other reasons stated by Catherine Collins, a professor of social work at Maryland School of Social Work, says that it's the family structure. Sometimes the parents are 100% okay with neglecting the parents. It's neglecting their kid. It's at this point, it's normal. The kid is also not okay. It just sees it as normal. It's how it should be, and and this is totally wrong. But this is also almost impossible to fix. This would require heavily monitoring the home, which is also hugely expensive, and the parents would not want to do this. Heavily monitoring would also be like the parent would not also always be genuine when the monitoring is happening. They might put on a facade to keep the monitoring away or make them look as a better parent to get out of that situation. This also applies to incarcerated parents. This is similar but different. Different being that one parent is neglectful by being away out in prison. They're totally unattached from the system in general. While both parents in the other situation overwork. The parent remaining could be trying really hard or neglectful again, but it's in this situation it's not helping. Dr. Angie Smith, owner of Mindtree Counseling, has a study on incarcerated parents and their students. That says that families that have no support systems have kids that also fall through the cracks. Falling through the cracks is essentially failing every facet of the way. You have a bad future outlook, you have bad grades, bad behavior, bad mental health. This all leads to having a good outlook in the future. One solution to this is having positive peer figures. When having positive peer figures, say I have a friend who has good grades, good behavior, and good mental health, I'll feel accountable to that person to be, okay, if he's doing it, I need to. And if he'll be like, come on man, what are you doing? It leads you accountable to somebody. Being accountable to somebody is important in your life structure. This leads us to my counterclaim. Some people say that substance abuse and mental health can be fixed and approved in social settings. Some people say that mental health parents could seek professional help or take medicine. This is not always feasible. By doing this, it takes money and time away from the kid, which is not always able to be done. Others are also saying that substance abuse can be caused, but according to California, the biggest cause of child abuse is neglect. Is abuse and neglect, which leads up to 80% of that. If all these kids were leaving, it would be a max exodus, and all these kids would be out on their own, which is not beneficial. But taking time to get better for your substance abuse takes time, and you would go through withdrawals, and seeing withdrawals is scarring in of itself, which is not good. In conclusion, 16-year-olds should be able to emancipate themselves from harmful situations as they cause harm to the kid.
Good. All right, first question. What were the strategies you used to gather your information sources and research, and were those strategies effective?
My strategies were to tackle one thing at a time. I would tackle the context, to like the background of what emancipation is, why it's a thing, how it's been benefiting kids in and of itself. And it's worked pretty good because I can tackle one thing at a time. See, does it work in my thing overall, in my discussion overall, or does it not? I had a source that was in between all three. It was going off of mental health and COVID that I didn't include in the presentation because it was a little it was iffy on it, and my strategy going each helped me look at that and be like, oh, this doesn't really align well with my whole overall argument.
Okay. And how certain are you that emancipation is the right way to go for these kids?
I'm pretty sure on it, because emancipation leads them out of these areas, as I stated. But emancipation in general, instead of just focusing on parents, because the parents are usually not willing to do these things. That's why we're usually in the situation that we have, because they're neglectful or they're abusing the kid. So it's usually just better to just get them out of that area, far be it in a foster home, or if they're mature enough to be on their own.